Already tuning in here. Starts one switch. Okay. I'm going to wait for about 20 seconds just for the attendees populations to shift from K1 to second and third. Looks like a lot of people are tuning in. And K and first graders, you can hang around and watch too. You're more than welcome. Okay, I think we're set. All right, well, this is our second activity of the night for Lundy Elementary, second and third graders. So I hope you all got your kits home from school. My name is Justin from Connected Lane County, and I'm here with Karen from Eugene Science Center. And this is one of our virtual family STEM nights that we are bringing to you. Hopefully next time it'll be in person, but for now, this is what we can offer. So for this activity, again, we're in a webinar, which means we can't directly speak to the students involved, but you are more than welcome to communicate via chat or give us a thumbs up if you, or thumbs up, thumbs down to communicate if you need more time for something, but chat is always good too. There you go. Bunyan J, hello to you too. You got the chat down. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Karen.
All right. Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. All right, how's that looking, Justin?
Fantastic.
Awesome. All right, friends. So my name is Karen, and I am visiting you from Eugene Science Center. So if you are not familiar with us, we are a science museum and planetarium in Eugene. This is our 60th year being here in Eugene. And I've got a picture here of the building. If you haven't been in a while, it probably looks a little different. It used to be rainbow stripes. And unfortunately, we are still closed to the public. So for the past year, no one has been able to come visit us. So it's been really wonderful to get to visit people through Zoom and through their screens to do science with you at home. So I hope that if you're at home and you're in our second and third grade group, you were able to get your kit from school. So you can go ahead and grab that. And let's see if we can get this going. All right, we are going to be doing some engineering. So if you've heard that word before, you might know that engineers solve problems. So engineers design all kinds of things. When you think of an engineer, you might think of someone who designs computers or designs cars, but they really can solve any sort of problem. And we are going to be doing a special kind of engineering called biomedical engineering. Biomedical engineering is when people use engineering practices and apply it to healthcare. And specifically, we are going to be designing prosthetics. So I've got a picture here of an engineer, and she is helping test out a prosthetic leg. So that word prosthetic, if you take a look at that picture, you might get a clue what that means. A prosthetic replaces a missing body part. And you've probably seen this before, maybe with athletes. If they had a really cool prosthetic leg, you might have seen on TV if they were running in a race. But there are all different kinds of prosthetics that engineers have designed. And we're actually going to be using our engineering brains in order to help an animal. So if you already took a look at your packet, you might have a clue about what's going to happen next. But first, I wanted to show you some examples of how people have used prosthetics to help animals. And I'll skip this here. So right here, I have this dog who has prosthetic feet. So you can see that engineers were able to help this dog keep moving by designing new feet for him. And this alligator here has a new tail. Now, if you think about alligators, why do you think they might need to have a tail? You know, it's something that helps them move around, helps them swim. So if an alligator didn't have a tail, it might be pretty hard for them to swim and move around quickly in the water. So they can actually also use them pretty quickly to hit things. So pretty helpful for this gator to have its tail back. You could also use prosthetics to help animals in the ocean. So this here is a dolphin that got a prosthetic fin so that it could keep swimming. And then I've also got a picture here of an elephant. So this elephant was injured. And can you imagine something as heavy as an elephant needing to design something that could hold the weight of something so huge? So people are pretty creative. And whenever we see someone who needs help, we always want to do our best to try to find a solution to their problem. And so today we are going to be helping a bird. Now, there are a few different ways that people have designed prosthetics for birds in the past. I have here a picture of an eagle who was injured on her beak. And then I also have another bird here who had a prosthetic beak. So not being able to eat with your beak would really be really hard for a bird. So being able to give them a new beak helps them survive. And then this bird here, if you look really closely at its leg, that leg is the prosthetic leg. Now that's very impressive because in order for birds to fly, their bones have to be really lightweight. Birds actually have hollow bones so that they're able to be light enough to lift their weight off the ground. So I imagine that that prosthetic leg took some real quick engineering brains to think about how to make it light enough to get that bird off the ground. And what we are going to be designing today is a wing for a bird. Now, if you like superhero movies, you may have seen something like a prosthetic wing before. This is one of my favorite superheroes here. This is Falcon, although I think now he's considered Captain America. And if you've seen him in the movies, you might have seen that he has these mechanical wings that get him off the ground and help him fly. And I was trying to do some research to figure out if anyone has ever actually designed a prosthetic wing for a bird. And I did find one example. So this here is a parakeet who unfortunately was injured in a way where someone had cut its feathers. And so people were able to engineer new feathers for this bird to be able to get their wings back and fly. So in that picture that where you can see the bird's whole wing, those are actually fake feathers there. And the animal that we are going to be helping today is a great blue heron. Now, in order to help this great blue heron, we are going to use something called the engineering design process. And if you've got your packet with you, you might be able to find your paper. That looks like this. It's got some pictures of some herons on it, but we're going to go through this together. So my challenge for you as an engineer is to solve this problem. A great blue heron is injured and can no longer fly. It needs your help. And your challenge has two parts. So you're going to be designing a safe habitat and a prosthetic wing for an injured great blue heron. So if you think about a bird that's injured, it also needs somewhere safe to live while it's recovering. So when I think about a safe habitat, I need to think about what it needs in order to be safe, what it needs in order to find food, and to find water, and to avoid predators, all different kinds of things that it's going to need in its habitat. And so to get started, we are going to be doing one of the most important steps in engineering, which is research. So we need to find out, what does a great blue heron need in its habitat to survive? And we need to learn a little bit more about what a bird's wing looks like in order for us to design one. We need to think about how a bird's wing moves and what parts it has so that we can design our own. And this is where we're going to get to be really creative. And I'm going to go through this research with you. We'll go through it together, and then we're going to imagine some solutions. So as we're talking about this great blue heron and what it needs and how it moves, I want you to think about how this heron will stay safe and find what it needs in this habitat without being able to fly while it's healing. So think about that while we're talking. And then I also want you to think about things you could use to build a new wing and how will that wing work. Now I have some pictures here of great blue herons. You might have seen these guys before. They are pretty easy to find if you are ever out near a stream or a pond. I'm very lucky that the Eugene Science Center is located in the middle of a big park in Eugene, and I see great blue herons every single day, which is why I thought about this bird when I thought of a bird that I wanted to challenge you guys to help. So I don't know of an actual great blue heron that needs a wing, but this is going to be an imaginary design process for you. So you don't have to worry. There's no heron that's been injured but we're gonna be using our engineering brains just in case something happens in the future. So if I take a look at this great blue heron, I notice that it can fly pretty high up in the air, and it also lives near water. So it also needs to be adapted to survive near water. And I also noticed that this is a pretty big bird. So great blue herons could be 4 feet tall, which is about this tall, because I'm 5 feet tall. And they have a wingspan of 6 feet, which is longer than I am tall. So if a great blue heron were to spread its wings next to me, those wings would be longer than my arms reaching out here. But even though they are that big, they only weigh about 6 pounds. Now think about how much you weigh and how big you are, and then think about how something that big could only weigh 6 pounds. And that's because they have those, again, those hollow bones, and they're covered in feathers. And we know that these great blue herons like to live near water because that's where they find their food. So great blue herons are excellent fishers. If you've ever seen one in the wild, you might have noticed that they're very patient. They like to stalk their prey. So great blue herons will stand in one place over the water and just keep an eye out and then snatch up a fish when they see it. And they might eat other things. They might eat amphibians, like a frog. They might even eat a lizard. They could even eat a really small bird, or if they're really hungry, they could eat insects. They could eat all different kinds of things. Now, these great blue herons also have to watch out for predators as well. There are birds that are bigger than them or scarier than them, things like eagles or great horned owls. And if they live somewhere where there are alligators, they might have to watch out for alligators. So they also need to be able to protect themselves from those dangers. And when they have eggs and babies, they also need to worry about other birds like ravens and vultures and crows and hawks, and even black bears and raccoons trying to steal their eggs as a snack. Now, the challenge here to think about this is that great blue herons build their nests up in the very, very top of a very tall tree. So I've been lucky to see some great blue heron nests here in the park. And imagine a very tall tree, and at the very top of that tall tree, there's a little nest that they've built. And if a great blue heron isn't able to fly, they won't be able to reach their nest. So as you're thinking about your habitat that you're designing, I want you to consider where you might put that nest for them to feel safe, and how you might make sure that they feel safe, and also how they're going to find food. And then I have this picture here of a great blue heron that was injured. It does have an x-ray of a broken bone. So we do know that birds have been injured in the past. We're going to imagine that we're completely replacing a wing for a great blue heron. All right, and I did want to talk to you guys about how a bird's wing works. And if you take a look at this picture, when I look at this picture, it looks kind of familiar because those muscles and those bones kind of look like my muscles and my bones. So if you're following along at home, I would love for you to do this with me. I want you to stretch your arm out and move your arm in a circle. You are using your shoulder joint, which if you look closely at this picture, this bird also has a shoulder joint. And at that joint, the arm is able to move up and down. It can go side to side. It can go in circles. Same for a bird's wing. At the shoulder, a bird's wing can go in all different directions. Now I want you to stick your arm out and then raise up your hand and bend your elbow. So unlike our shoulder, at our elbow, our arm can only bend in one direction. It can just kind of go open and closed. Same for a bird. A bird can't make this joint go all over the place. They just have open and close for that elbow joint there. And then you may not have realized this, but the part of a bird's wing that we see that's the biggest part that has the most feathers is where the wrist is connected. And just like their elbow, their wrist can kind of just flap open and closed. It doesn't turn in circles. Our wrist is definitely more flexible. So when I think about a bird's wing, I can imagine a shoulder and an elbow and a wrist, and then feathers coming out from those places. And the most important feathers are the flight feathers. So these are really long feathers that catch the wind and help these birds lift themselves up off the ground. And then there's also a ligament. So ligament is not a bone, but it's a strong part of your body, and their ligament connects their shoulder to the wrist. And this is so that they don't overstretch their wing and get an injury. So it keeps their wing from getting too big. So now we know a little bit more about the great blue heron's lifestyle, what it needs to survive. We've done our research on what a bird's wing looks like. So I think you guys are probably ready to move on to the design phase. So if you have your packet with you, you should see a page that looks like this. It has just a great big square on it. So I would love for you guys to find a pencil and start to make a plan for how you are going to help this great blue heron. So you could write out your idea with words, you could sketch out your ideas, but come up with a few different plans. And I'm gonna give you guys just a few minutes for this. If you have any questions while we're doing this, you could put them in the chat. I don't know if I can see the chat, so I guess Justin, let me know if you see any questions come up.
I'll keep you posted.
Mm-hmm.
There's a siren going by my house. Sorry. Oh, Banyan, Jade, you don't have that paper? But you have the kit, but the paper is not inside?
If you don't have that paper, you can use any piece of paper because we're just drawing. We're just writing our ideas.
Says okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay.
Also, no paper either, just craft paper sheets. So they shouldn't use the craft paper sheets. Is that? He says he has craft paper sheets.
Oh, like construction paper? Huh. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure all of our kits had those printed pages, but if you didn't, I'm sorry. Luckily, we're talking about everything over Zoom. So.
Oh, I think it got printed on the back. Oh, so helpful, J Hogue. It's on the back side of the bird pictures. So if you don't have that paper, look on the back of your bird picture paper. It's on there. Is that right?
Yeah, you might have a page that looks like this, and on the back of it. So I think mine are separated, but yeah.
Alan M, thank you. It's on the back side of the diagram.
Yeah, so if you see the page like this, if you flip it over, that's where you'll draw.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. All right, and if you are not done planning, that's okay. I just want to go ahead and move on and give you some ideas on how you could create a model, because that is the next step. So you're probably wondering about all of those awesome supplies that came in your packet. So we are going to be creating a model of the wing that you design. And if you have time after you've designed your wing, you could use whatever leftover crafting supplies to try to make a diagram or a model of what the habitat might look like. But if you don't have time, you could just think about the habitat, how it might look. You could draw it out, maybe paint it out at home. But the thing that I really want you to think about is how you're going to create a model of your wing. So I'm going to go over some of the crafting supplies that we have here in our kits and how you can be creative with what you have in front of you. So you probably noticed that you've got some construction paper, and this construction paper you can cut. So one thing that's not in the kit is scissors and tape. So if you are able to find scissors and tape around the house, I think that'll really help you out with this part of the project. Because one thing that I did, you also will find some tiny little toothpicks in there, is that you could take some tape and connect a toothpick to a piece of paper that's cut out like the shape of a feather. And then you've got your own feather there. So there's one idea for you guys to design with. Now, another thing that you will find is something called a brad. So it's tiny. I'll see if I can hold it up here for you to see. So it might be a different color from mine, but it's a tiny, tiny little thing that it's made of metal. It has a circle on top and some prongs coming out. And this is what we could use to make a joint. So that's a place where the limb is going to be able to bend, where the wing is able to bend. So I've made an example of how we can do that here. I'll show you how we can use our supplies to do that though. So if you were to take something like a pencil and poke a hole in a piece of paper, you should be able to put the brad through the paper. Let's see if I can hold it up so you can see there. There we go. And once you put it through the paper, you could do the same thing with another piece of paper. And I'll just go ahead and add on to mine here.
And Miss Burkhart writes that friends could tear feathers if they don't have any scissors. They could tear the paper into feathers.
Exactly.
Thank you for that suggestion.
Mm-hmm. And once I have 2 pieces of paper on the brad, you'll notice that there's 2 metal prongs here, and you'll fold them closed. So I folded them closed. And now I'm able to create this joint where the wing can bend. Now there's another way where you can design a way for a wing to bend, and that is using a tiny little device called a binder clip. So it's shaped like this, and I have made an example for you guys to see, and then I'll show you how to do it. So one thing that I did was I took popsicle sticks, so you should also have some popsicle sticks in your kit. And if you have some tape at home, you could use that, or I also added some pipe cleaners, and these pipe cleaners you could use to attach things as well if you don't have tape. So I took a popsicle stick and taped it onto the metal part of the binder clip, and now I'm able to create a joint that opens this way. So it's a little bit different from our brads where it was kind of swiveling next to each other. Now it's able to go in different directions here, all different directions. So this is another way to do that. And by doing that, if you look really closely, I just taped the popsicle stick onto the metal parts of the binder clip. So that's another way you can be creative here. You also should find a paper plate. Now this paper plate is thicker, a little bit stronger than that construction paper. So I thought about this and being able to catch the wind. So if, instead of designing a bunch of little feathers, if you wanted to just design a bigger piece of the wing, you could probably cut out a shape in here in order to get the shape of the wing that you want. And this will catch the wind. It's a little bit more bent, a little bit thicker in order for that wing to flap. I also included some straws, and I thought these would be kind of like the hollow bones of a bird. So they're pretty lightweight, but we could use them for structure, connecting things. And again, I have these pipe cleaners here that you can use to connect things. You might also want to just use it as decoration, whatever you want to use it for. And then you should also be able to find a rubber band. So I kind of thought this might be useful if you were to create that ligament, again, that ligament that connected the shoulder to the wrist. If you were to take some scissors and make one cut in your rubber band, it could stretch open, and then you have a long stretchy piece that's going to help as well. And I think I've gone over all of your materials here, and I don't think we'll have time to completely build our wings together. So I'm going to go through the rest of the engineering design process with you guys, and then I will show you how you can share your projects with me so that I can enjoy them later and share them with my coworkers here at the Science Center. So let's see. So once you have created a model, this is a really important step in the engineering design process. We always want to evaluate and improve our design. So this is a question that you need to ask yourself. Does your solution solve the great blue heron's problem? So what was our great blue heron's problem? It needs a new wing and it needs somewhere safe to live. So if you're evaluating your design, take a look at your model when you're done with it and see, does it solve the problem? Does it solve all the things that the great blue heron needs? If not, that's okay, because we can always improve what we did. And even if you think it does solve the problem, there's probably something you can do to improve your design. And then this is how you can share with me. So one thing that you could do with your parents' permission is take a photo of your creation. And there's a few different ways that you could share it. You could just share it with your teacher at school and with your classmates. You could bring your project to the classroom if you guys are back to in-person school. Or you could just share it over Zoom. You could also share it with me on social media. So let's see if I can find the chat. No, I still don't see the chat here, so I don't know if I can share that with you guys. But if you wanted to go to our Facebook page, it's just facebook.com/Eugene Science Center. And you could post that picture there with us, or you could use hashtag Eugene Science Center. I think on Instagram, it's at Eugene Science Center. Or you could just email me. I put my email there, and I would love to see the projects that you guys come up with. And we do still have some time. So if you guys are working on your designs, we can pull up this picture of the wing. And if anyone has any questions or things they would like to share, let's see. Oh, I found the chat. Yay. Let's see. All right, so I shared our Facebook page. There we go. Oh yeah, I see some great ideas in here. I'm checking out the chat. There we go. All
Yeah,
right.
Mrs. Burkhart reminded all the folks too that we will be recording this lesson and putting it online on our YouTube channel probably in a few days or so. So if anyone wants to review something to get ideas, then that'll be there as a resource too.
And again, as an engineer, it's okay to try your best. If something isn't working out the way that you thought that it would, that is normal. That is something that happens to engineers most of the time. Once something is done, that's after the engineers have gone through so many problems and so many frustrations. And so it's okay to get frustrated. It's okay to take a break, to pause on your design, to come back to it later. The most important thing is that you guys are helping someone who needs help and you're doing your best. Let's see. And it said, someone said, could you please share again?
I think, is that the YouTube? The YouTube channel, it won't be on there just yet because we're recording it right now. We'll have to have a few days to upload it and everything, but it's on that flyer that was distributed to families at the bottom. That YouTube link will be down there.
All right. Ooh, and I saw someone said they couldn't see what I was doing. They could just see the words. So I'll stop sharing my screen. And that way you should be able to see me now if you couldn't before. And I'll show you those examples that I was showing everyone. So this is where I was talking about using the binder clip to make wings that can flap like this. So it's just tape. And again, you could just use a pipe cleaner wrapped around it if you don't have tape attached to the metal part so that it can flap open. And then with that brad, I poked a hole in some paper. And when it goes through 2 pieces of paper, it's able to swivel like that. So for you guys that weren't able to see that before, I'm sorry. Hopefully you can see this now, and that can help you with some of your ideas. All right, well, this has been super fun. I really wish that I could be there with you guys in person. I'm sure that in the future, I'll get a chance to visit your school for a STEM night, and we'll get to do something really fun together.
Absolutely, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen, and for sharing everything the Eugene Science Center has to offer and these fun activities. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, I hope that you guys have fun designing your prosthetic wings and your habitat for your bird. Again, I'd love to see what you come up with. And I will go ahead and leave you guys so that the 4th and 5th graders can do their STEM night project.
All right. Thanks so much, Karen. Bye. And to everybody else, I'm going to put one link in the chat for just quick feedback. It's 3 questions long, probably takes about 1 minute. It would just help us to better provide these programs in the future, and we'd really appreciate your help. But other than that, 2nd and 3rd graders, thank you so much for your participation. And at 6:30, we'll welcome back the grades 4, 5, and 6 from Lundy Elementary. So we'll see you then, okay?